excited to have her back to the program.
Thank you very much. And so congratulations on doing this. I understand that you're the 5th out of 8 weeks, so you're over the halfway mark. Congratulations. And what a winter to be doing this. But yeah, my name is Emily Hummel, and I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I got my degree at Northern. And you talk about marriage and family therapy is a different kind of field than psychoanalysis or psychiatry, because we look at people in the context of relationships that they have. And I love that. Like, you can be one person in one relationship and a completely different person in another relationship. So instead of just working on yourself, you work on the relationships. So I think how fitting. Today we will talk about our relationship with food. And I think some of you were here last year when I did the presentation. Last year we called it emotional eating. This year's presentation is on intuitive eating, which is a whole new way of looking at food. Not probably from yourself. I think we all would love to be able to eat intuitively and just intuitively like to eat the right thing, but we don't dare. And now people with letters after their names are telling us it's okay to do that. Okay, all right. And that actually thinking about dieting primarily keeps us in a kind of cycle that's almost an abuse cycle, that we're stuck between trying to diet and then overeating. So the idea and the concept behind intuitive eating is, and forgive me if I laugh, the concept that each of us has an inner genius, an intuitive voice within that can guide us to eat the right foods and right portion sizes. Well, I'm sorry. I love that idea. But really, if that were true, why would we all be here? So I think to be realistic, we have to give rise to the cynic within that says, oh yeah? Okay, I'll tell you what my intuitive genius says. Eat the entire batch of raw chocolate chip cookie dough. And then go for those double brownies with chocolate chips in them. I mean, so okay, I am ready to say I'm defeated. My intuition is not genius. I have like a dunce within me. But if we look at the concept, intuitive eating is there's an idea that inside our body there are cues that can help us eat the right thing. And so now, does anybody else need to say anything to voice the cynic? Let's get him out, her out. You understand that, maybe this isn't cat's meow, but I think it offers a whole new look, and it's a more benevolent look at our relationship with food, and I really like that piece. So what intuitive eating is, it should be able to vary from person to person so that each one of us, just like we don't have the same sleep patterns, we don't have the same exercise patterns, we're all so unique. So each one of us would have a different way of eating if we were to really strip down all the negative things we've learned and get back to looking at what's positive. It's cyclical, kind of like seasonal, like other things in nature. We'll have our winters, we'll have our summers. We'll have times when you want to eat ravenously, and then a time where you don't want to eat much at all. And the thing is, in our society, eating is such a public thing that if you get to that place where you really don't want to eat very much, it's embarrassing. Because people, well, why aren't you eating? Do you not like my food? Are you on a diet? Well, nobody wants to admit they're on a diet because then people will start watching what you're eating. I don't know, maybe you guys don't mind it, but I don't like admitting it, but the thing is, with intuitive eating, we should be able to just eat, and it's going to be different all the time. And it should include a wide variety of foods. And this is the piece that I think, if you're really going to call it intuitive eating, we need to outsmart our intuition, because like me, I would go for chocolate chip cookie dough and brownies. One way to get that genius, to have more material around, like an artist, you want to have the right, make sure you have water handy. Make sure you have raw fruits and vegetables or healthy snacks that are available. Make it easier for that genius to come to light. As if it's just intuitive without being smart about it, you're not going to get anywhere. And I think if the idea that your body itself should know what it needs, think about what would the body need. it would need natural substances that are made from the same creator that made our bodies. So we'd be eating more natural fruits and vegetables and less processed foods and things like that. So that's why, that to me, is like, that's not intuitive. We have to be brainy, you know. But it's like that in like even athletics. Say if you get really good at something, so you become a really good tennis player, you usually learn, and you have to unlearn bad habits and then get to where you're learning so that the good habits feel intuitive, right? So you just practice. So that's what intuitive eating is. You practice this. And it's free of obsession. It nourishes the body and the soul. It should feel good. And it's an essential component of self-care. So, I mean, I like the fact that eating well should feel good. You know, I talk to a lot of people, in 21 years, you can imagine the number of people I've talked to at different ages. Oops, you know, I'm being filmed, so I'm not supposed to move my but it seems like, especially young girls, oh, my body should be a certain way. I'm thinking, oh, come on, you're young, just enjoy it. I said, can't you just admire your we call it tight skin? Don't worry about the rest. But very often, when they're eating anything, even just one piece of dessert, they're feeling guilty when you eat. It just teaches you that eating is not an enjoyable activity. One thing I really like about the concept of intuitive eating is we want to get back to where eating can be enjoyable and without guilt. Isn't that great? That would be wonderful. So the problem is we've spent time and energy silencing that voice through habits we have learned and practiced, including dieting. Here there's some, stuffing hot dogs. Not Chicago style. Okay. But here's this unnatural. Have you all seen this before? Cycle of endless binge and restrict cycle. And this is just so darn human nature. We set ourselves up to be defeated, then we fall, then we set ourselves up with unrealistic expectations, and then we fall again. And it keeps us going round in circles. So here, I don't even know, pick, what color should we start on? Which one? The blue? Purple. Purple, okay. All right, so here we are. Oh yes, perfect for right now. Our actions, we're gonna get in control. We're gonna eat all the right foods. We're gonna have all the right portions. And you do it by dieting and restricting. And I'm not saying don't diet at all. I mean, we wanna be conscious of what you're eating. But have a little mercy on your soul and your body. So here we go, as you get in control, so then you do this at the pink. You go to dieting and restricting. And it's interesting what this does. At one level, it helps you feel good because, oh, I'm being such a good girl, or I'm a good boy, I'm right on track. And who doesn't feel good thinking that you're going toward a goal? I mean, that in itself is a feel good, and I don't discourage that. But very often when we're doing it with restrictive diets, where we actually will feel hungry and our body isn't getting what it needs, what also happens, you feel good about going toward a goal, but at the same time, there's this anxiety building inside. Maybe I'm not going to follow it. Uh-oh, what happens if I fall off? And it becomes so restrictive that you're already kind of trapped in this unnatural cycle, even by orange. Does it look orange to you? Dark yellow, yeah, whatever. And what happens then, you go to this actions where your physical and I would say physical and emotional needs cannot be met by doing something where your body's not getting what it needs, or when that anxiety is driving you. Because if the anxiety is driving you, you're sowing seeds of fear that you'll end up feeding one way or another. So I think it's really sad because with all the good intentions, we get stuck in this cycle. So this physical or emotional needs lead you to an inability to restrict. Your body does need foods. It needs a variety of foods. And so then you go back to the green, binge or overeat, and then you feel bad about yourself, which don't we have that enough in our society? You turn on the TV and we're not pretty enough or young enough or thin enough or something. We don't need one more reason to feel bad about ourselves. So after you binge and overeat and feeling guilty, remorse, and then this fear again of gaining weight, and then you solve that fear by getting back in control. control again. So I think it's important to see this and say, okay, I want to jump off that cycle. I want to live on a higher plane. And that's what the intuitive eating promises. But realistically, I think it takes a lot of work to, it's just, let's be honest about it. If it were that easy to jump off the cycle, we would all probably have jumped off years ago. So I think what I like about the intuitive eating is they say, okay, let's take some time to think about things differently. Remember that food can be a friend, not an enemy. Your need to eat food is life-sustaining and should be nourishing. Let's not turn food into your enemy or have your body be your enemy. So that's why we're going to use what we know so far about eating intuitively as a tool to eat healthier, to end the binging and restricting, and to overcome misleading hunger triggers. And I want you to, on the worksheets, I'm not going to go over every single one of these worksheets. They're for you to take home. But the one that's called the 10 Principles of Intuitive Eating, it's kind of this is like the meat of what we're talking about. I had to build up. The ladies, Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch, R-E-S-C-H. I thought your name cracks me up. It looks like Resch to me. Oh well, that's just me. All right. Okay. So, but they wrote this book called Intuitive Eating, which I recommend. And their 10 principles are, number 1, reject the diet mentality. But I don't want to just stand here and read all these points to you. I'm trying to make it, what way, I know for me sometimes when I read and hear, you kind of go into, yeah, once you're going to get over it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to think of other ways that you can make these points live for you. And I wrote a little, like for me, I used to do this in my classes. In order to stay awake, I would draw little illustrations like cartoons. Okay, and if I'm going to be foolish enough to show you my cartoons, you can be foolish enough to be creative too. Okay, so here I have, so the number 1, reject the diet mentality. She says, throw out the diet books and the magazine articles that offer you false hopes. So I have this like 1, no, it's supposed to be a hand. Okay, I'm not an artist. But whatever it takes to help you to reject the diet mentality, no more magical thinking. And that alone takes time to kind of embrace that idea. And then it says, if you allow even one small hope to linger, that a better diet might be around the corner, it's kind of like hope, well, I don't really need to go to work today because I might win the lottery. You know? Okay, it would be nice if, but the thing is, we need to have a steady income and we need to be eating healthy in the meantime. Honor your hunger. So what I have, if any of you are so inspired, I have 4, maybe 5 pieces of paper on the wall. So feel free to go up and illustrate your own or bring them back to your table if you want to. I would love to have some more illustrations of these 10 points. Okay. Number 1 is what? Reject the diet mentality. Okay. Number 2, honor your hunger. Okay. So my honor your hunger, I have this happy face with a big empty stomach and a little bit of like water in the bottom of it. So what does it mean to, and when you honor something, it's like, oh, okay, boy, I feel a little hungry. You just notice it. You don't worship it. You just notice it. No. Can you think of anything else you honor that you take time to honor?
Your mother and father.
Exactly, yeah. You honor your parents. So when you...
Familiar. It comes from another 10-step thing.
And that's tried and true.
I mean, honor and respect are pretty, you can kind of look at it the same way. You
Yeah.
respect it.
Sure, yeah. So respect it is trying to tell, so if you think about, that's a great example, honor your mother and father, you're thankful for what they've taught you. And so you're thankful for the commitment to take care of you. I mean, so many things. So if you honor your hunger, say, okay, this hunger is actually a part of my body and it's telling me something. I need to be aware of it. And if you honor it, you're going to take care of it well enough. But see, one of the things about the diet mentality that becomes so problematic is if you starve yourself till you're as hungry as possible, you know, if there's nothing in there, it's just a setup to binge. So by honoring it, you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of your hunger. And this number 3, make peace with food. I would say if you're going to be eating something, might as well tell yourself to be thankful. You know, this is not the enemy. Food is sustaining my body, or this has sustained me so far. Yeah. Or even if you're going to eat something like that you know you shouldn't, say, well, it's going to take me a while to change. At least this has worked for me. I'm still here. You know, I think of that when I'm in therapy. Very often people come in because they want to change habits. But I say, don't change too fast, because the way you've learned to deal with life and navigate your relationships has helped you survive up to this point. And there's usually more to what you've learned to do that's helping you survive than you even understand. So if you tried to change everything right away, it might shake up another area of your life. So you know, plan things slowly. You know. And who knows, sometimes what you're eating is meeting emotional needs, sometimes physical needs, sometimes it makes you happy, and what's wrong with that? Yeah. So the number 4, okay, this is one of my favorite ones, and my favorite one. Okay, number 4 is, okay, here I am saying to the food police. See, look, does that look like a whistle to anybody? Sure. Thank you. But to realize that when, you know, that we have this internalized food police, don't eat that, eat this, you know. So we have to, in our own brain, say, no, you know, stop that. If this is good for me, I'm going to do it. And then on the other side of honoring your hunger, like you said, is respect. Respect your fullness. All right, so those are the first 5. We'll get to the final 5 after a while. Who can remember, without looking at at your paper, one of the 5 points I just said?
Say no to the food police.
Thank you. Okay. No to the food police. I think that was number. Yeah. Honor your hunger. 2. Okay. Another one. Make peace with your food. Okay. And that wasn't even illustrated, so that's very good. Okay. Reject the diet mentality and respect your fullness. Okay. So part of what I want you to do in your groups is, in order to pay attention to the healthy voice inside us, what we have to do also is to identify what some of the unhealthy voices are inside us. So we have to unlearn before we can relearn. So I have this blank billboard. Okay. Daily we're bombarded with information. And if you look on the PowerPoint slide I gave you, there's 3, not the slide I gave you, the handouts. The one that starts with unlearning and relearning, there's the things that we see, and then the things that we hear, and the things that we feel. So if you could take about 5 to 7 minutes to work in your group and talk about what are the things that you see, hear, and feel that are going to be kind of things that you need to stand against in order to embrace this inner genius. Do you want to, if you want to get in groups,
I'm sorry, what are we doing?
I think one of the things
I want to try to find an order.
We were. Alright, we're having a discussion. Alright, so. One of the things that I myself have tried to do is each time I read one of it's not my I don't think so what I have look at my hand before I put something in my mouth. No, what I'm thinking is
Potassium salt.
Why am I
that's
so
my
cold?
whole thing. Things like right, exactly.
Now I know.
That's just I didn't know which one was
Kids in my house.
Something else later in the
Well, they'll give you an option, not even an would you like fries? Like they should say, oh, I'm trying to eat. And it's like, I don't
Thank you. But you want to do it, he has to be successful. I did. Yeah. Same thing.
That's my job. Regardless of pay to me. I would do it every day. I don't know why I was so hard, like something. And I said
Let's stop the discussion and get back to this.
I also tried it.
Okay, can we get back can you whistle? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, I find that when you actually discuss it with people that you know, you're more apt. Okay. Respect. Thank you. Respect the teacher. Okay. But I have found that when you speak with people you know, it's easier to process. Because I think, things go in your brain, come out your mouth, I was trying to do the fingertips, but maybe after, that will come later. But it helps you process rather than having make you stand up in front of a crowd and talk to people you might not know. So anyway, the whole idea here of looking at what are some of the things that we're up against, what we need to unlearn. There are things that we see, things we've heard, and things we feel. And the thing about what we feel, this is really interesting to me. There's a book written called Salt, Sugar, Fat. It was written in 2013 by a man named Michael Noss. And he's a investigative journalist out of New York, in New York. And he interviewed and went to a lot of the food giants like General Mills, Kraft, Pillsbury, and learned that they all have this inside secret that they learn to find what they call the bliss point in processed food. They want to add enough sugar, salt, and fat so that we all like it. And that just makes me angry. They're manipulating things so that we like it enough to eat it. And these are all processed foods. And apparently a couple years ago, somebody tried to talk to them about, are we responsible for the obesity epidemic? And they couldn't say no. But I think then the things we feel, is what I'm thinking, if we're going to go by intuitive eating, we have to understand that some of the foods we eat feel good to us because that's what we've learned, not because we would have learned it naturally, but because of Wall Street and other people are making money off our appetites. Isn't that sobering? I mean, if anything gets me mad, I think, oh, so someone else is using my natural hunger to make money off me? I don't know. That makes me want to learn to eat intuitively. I want to keep more money in my pocket. And I think, we recognize that too as far as body image. I was talking to a group at that table, one of those tables, about how as women in particular, and I know men also, that there's this unrealistic standard of what you're supposed to look like, what size clothes you're supposed to fit into. And you think about it, that if the advertisers didn't put that unrealistic expectation in front of us, then we wouldn't spend all the money to try to get to look like the way they say we should, and it's another endless cycle. So what I like about the intuitive eating concept is that just to get back to accept yourselves the way you are. So in the principles of eating intuitively, we'll get to this number 6, discover the satisfaction factor. So just being able to understand that this is where I am full and I'm satisfied. Okay. And then instead of always stopping to restrict, we'll listen to our body more and seek support because this is not easy. And the second part here, respect your emotional reality. See, this is what I last year when we taught on food, we talked about emotional eating. And emotional eating is a common thing, but in order to overcome the tendency to emotionally eat, you can understand that our food is one thing and emotions are another. And the emotions that usually drive us to eat emotionally, to kind of, we want to feel satisfied and happy, you have to understand, I encourage all of you to try to think of what are the emotions that tend to drive me. For some people, it's sadness. It's usually the negative ones. Sadness, loneliness, boredom. You think of anything else? What'd you say?
Straight up depression.
Depression, yeah. So that's sad, worst, yeah, sadness minus, yeah. I know for me, I've recognized that a new one for me is envy. I'm at that age where some of my friends are retiring. I'm like, shoot, I can't retire.
I need a cheeseburger.
What'd you say?
I need a cheeseburger.
Yes, I need a
Because
cheeseburger.
you're tired.
It's gonna help me get there faster,
Yeah.
you know? But if you don't really kind of listen to yourself, it's hard to know what your triggers are. So, no, and sometimes you eat just because you're happy and celebrating. But if you can learn to honor your hunger and honor your fullness, maybe you can keep your emotions in one place and food in another. Okay. And in this number 8, respect your body, accept your genetic blueprint. And this is like, think of what shoe size you have. The old Cinderella sisters trying to fit their, fit their big feet into her little tiny glass slipper. It's really counterproductive, and they didn't get Prince Charming anyway, and who knows if he was all that charming, But the thing is that if we can accept the body that we have, we're a lot more apt to just accept what our body needs. Instead of fighting against it, if the shoe fits, wear it, learn to work within it, and just be joyful that our body works. There's so much to be thankful for. And then with the number 9 principle here, exercise, feel the difference. And this is with intuitive eating. You just want to get so your body is moving. Not that you have to work so many aerobic points a week or have your muscles be so big, but the idea that you can get to enjoy the feeling of your body moving. And this reminds me of something I heard about people who went in, like, people who went to school to become painters. And the instructor says, well, I can tell you, how many of you want to be famous artists and rich? Yeah, and a bunch of hands went up. And how many of you are here just because you enjoy painting? Other hands went up. And the teacher said, those of you who will be successful are the ones who enjoy painting. Yeah. And I think that's so, like, if your goal is a certain result, I just want to be rich and famous, you're not going to actually enjoy the doing of what it is that you need to do to get there. And I think that that's such a thing, it fits with healthy living, that we want to train ourselves to enjoy the feeling of moving. Like, instead of just enjoying the feeling of being a couch potato, at least maybe you've been a couch potato, well, at least move your fingers and your hands and your legs. Begin to enjoy and think about the sensation of moving. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, and then the number 10 is honor your health with good nutrition. And the experience, when I kind of went over real quickly the hunger and fullness, but one of the difficult things is, how do you honor your hunger, and how do you know, like, when are you hungry enough? A lot of people say that you should make sure you only, if you could do a scale from 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, I guess 0 is when you're famished, and 10 is when you're overstuffed. What you want to do is try to eat, or keep yourself having enough snacks or something, always something in your stomach, so that you don't reach 0, but you stay around even at 3. Maybe you want to be feeling 3 level hunger before you eat. And then you try to stop between 5 and 7 and get used to stopping before you're overstuffed. And then that would be a more natural pattern, because usually they say it's like a 20-minute delay from when you've eaten enough so that you'd be feeling full and when you actually feel full. So if you can stop, say, well, 6 or 7, I don't know, one of the websites said 5. It's like, I can't stop eating 5. I don't know what 5 is to you, but I want, you know. But I think, so this gets into the whole idea about how do you know, how do you experience that? And that's where I have these 7 mindful tips. And this is, mindful is kind of a buzzword in the mental health field right now. And mindful just means to be aware of what's going on with you in the moment. And it's a healthy pattern to learn how to do. One of the things that just being aware, you can be aware of your breathing, be aware of what you feel like at any given moment. One of the reasons that being mindful is so helpful is because it helps you to be grounded in the moment you're in. Where usually stress and anxiety, we're thinking about something that just happened that we wish hadn't, or we're worrying about something in the future. So being mindful in the moment is actually a great help for the future, and help you to get over the past. So I'm going to give, so these are for you, mindful eating tips. And then the other thing I have is, and I wish we had this in color, it's a beautiful color picture of Adirondack-style chairs, looking at on a dock, looking at a very peaceful lake. It's like, oh, that'd be great. So more intuitive eating tips and for you. But on the back, they say the thing that you need to remember, these 4 Ps, be patient with yourself, give yourself permission to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. Persist, because one bad day or one bad week doesn't make a diet, doesn't make you, fall off the chair or anything. What is that? Fall off the wagon. Okay. And then practice. So you want to practice recovering. It's just a, it's a cycle. It's cyclical. So you practice, you get back up if you fall, and so that's what I want to leave you all with. But any comments or questions? If somebody asked you to summarize intuitive eating, what would you say? I don't know what to say.
I'd say just being aware of your body's needs, and making the best decisions of what to put into it.
That's great, right there. So here's our inner genius.
That's just my interpretation of it.
Well, I appreciate that, yeah. But it is, it's like, and it's in being aware, but we all know it takes a while to really.
It takes a long time.
And it takes effort and it takes commitment. That's why I like that word persistence. Be persistent, be patient.
It's not an overnight thing. It's something that is a change. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
Your body changes as it gets older,
Exactly.
so your needs change.
Your needs change, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy your